I already have 2 errors. Oh. Line service receive video signal. Okay, sweet. Can you hear me? I don't know if this...
Oh, here.
Hello, whoever's watching already. I'm, my computer, my laptop, died on Monday. Like, straight up. No more working. No more turning on. No more nothing. So I got out a different laptop, and I'm just trying to make sure it works. So I don't know if you can hear me. Oh, Shelly says you can hear me. Lucky you. Okay. Hello, good afternoon. I hope you're all doing really fantastic on this hot summer day. Shelly and I went to Antonia's for lunch and sat outside, which was beautiful, but holy Moses, it's warm out. Okay. Does that shut off my screen? So can you see me right now?
Yeah, but there's a delay.
Oh, it's because I switched over to the thing. Hang on, I gotta pull up the announcements. Shelly's so good at keeping us in order, and we still screw it up. That's what happens. Announcements. Okay. So, good thing I didn't spend the 5 minutes before this to get this set up. Here's what we have to talk about today. We canceled our August project management classes, so that's a thing. We'll reschedule for October. If you want more information on that and what those project management classes are, you can visit our website or our Facebook page, Rose Group Int'l Facebook page. I talked to Dave Cromis this morning on his SRT webinar. What is it? Survive, Recover, Thrive, I think, is what SRT stands for. And we talked about employee engagement in the COVID time and how do you really engage remote workers. That will be available at some point. I don't know. Shelly will post it in places that you can see it. Helix, our culture type platform, is going to be available, I think, sometime next week. It won't be the exact SAS model, but if you request a new culture type assessment, you will, in fact, be directed to Helix to take the assessment, which is fantastical. And it looks very big girl. Like, it looks like when you transition as a little kid from like little kid shoes to big kid shoes, is serious big kid shoe stuff. Our mastermind started. Lots of fun. Some really cool stories in there in that group of people. We're excited to learn about everybody and learn from everyone. Weekly quote. Anytime you think, I could really use a change, what you really mean is that you want to enter an innovation phase. So in our language, we have created the Kurtz change transition model. And in that transition model, there is something called innovation phase, where you're trying to figure out what the new normal is going to look like. So you've probably done a bunch of crazy things, or maybe not so crazy, but like thought about a bunch of different options all at once. And then you might be going to bed at night and you think to yourself, what the hell am I thinking? Like, why would I want to do all of those things at once? But it's because your brain is trying to figure out what things you do want to do with those new opportunities that are popping into your head. Okay, weekly writing prompt. What are you inviting into your life with your actions this year? This is particularly important in this year of the COVID because what you think about is what creates your universe. And so if you're continually thinking about things that are not great, that's probably what's going to happen for you. And if you are continually thinking about things that are great, then that's probably what's going to happen to you. So this is a great writing prompt because then you can be really intentional about jotting down a few awesome things that you are planning to have happen to you in the next year and always for the rest of your life. And then those things will come true. You can actually speak it into existence. Okay, in the news, Shelly and I were visiting, and she said that it seems like there's a lot of maybe lack of self confidence or an increase in uncertainty for a lot of people, particularly business leaders. And so she found this great article about some things you can focus on to help you really feel a little bit more confident, or a little bit like, I think the situation right now is no one knows the answers, and when there's uncertainty, it makes you feel like you don't know what you're talking about. Like, how could you possibly give advice to anybody because you don't know what you're doing, sort of thought, and that makes us feel like we're not very confident. And so a few of the things that Shelly, I'm sure will post this in the comments or somewhere, this article. A few of the things this gal talks about, Amanda Rose is her name, is really first think about your situation. What is actually happening for you in your life? A lot of times we make it seem like it's a way worse deal than it actually is. Now, I mean, we're in a global epidemic. There's been lots of rioting. Your kids, if you have them, are thinking about going back to school. You've been working from home, which may or may not seem like the worst thing in the world to you. So yes, if you review your situation, you may in fact find that this is the crummiest situation you've ever found yourself in. But it's good to review it and be able to point out to yourself things that maybe aren't so bad. Go back to the basics. Make sure your life is very simple. This gives your brain time to slow down and emotionally diffuse so you can start building in some logic in your processing. Invest in your team. Make sure they know that you care about them. Have a plan. Talk about what's going on. If you ignore it, they're not ignoring it. So if you ignore the problems that are going on in your business, they will just amplify. They won't go away. This one is really kind of my favorite. She calls it pounce. And I would say tack. Because we are all uncertain, and because there's been a lot of hubbub about the economy not going well and people losing work, we might feel a little bit bad about being successful. Now is not the time for that. Never is the time for that. Now is definitely not the time for that. If you have opportunities in your industry, take advantage of them. Take advantage of them and think about it like this. You are helping people. Somehow, what you do is helping people. And so it's important that you keep attacking those opportunities or pouncing on those opportunities, because in the end, you are still helping people. Build yourself up as an expert, and then envision the future. So really, we talk about anchoring in the future, anchoring in something that you know you can strive for, get to. My runner buddy Dave and I just had this conversation yesterday, and if you've read the book, you know that this is a conversation we have often because it is actually in the book. I don't very often showcase times when someone scolds me or tells me how to do things, so you're welcome, Dave. But Dave is a more organizer than I am, and he always likes to have a plan about when we run. And not like day to day when we run, but what races are we training for? What is our big race for the year? And so yesterday we were talking about neither one of us have had very much motivation lately to do any running at all. But I think we decided it was because we hadn't really actually decided we were going to do the marathon that we planned to do in St. George, Utah this fall. It is still slated to run, but we weren't really sure if they were actually going to do it or if they're going to cancel it, so we hadn't signed up, and frankly, we probably aren't exactly where we should be for training. So we talked yesterday about what our options are and what do we want to do, and that we needed something to anchor in the future for. So are we going to just say, by God, we're going to run that race whether it happens or not, and we can go up in the hills and run it? Or are we going to pick some other shorter races, some half marathons, things that we know are happening around here, and then run a marathon next year? So we decided to anchor in that. And now this morning I got up and went for a run because I was like, oh yeah, I know exactly what I have to do. So envisioning the future or anchoring in future things that can happen really helps you feel more confident. Okay, so those are good. Those are good things. What are we going to talk about next? Ooh, we have some good questions in here. Okay. Member questions. I'm planning on taking a vacation in the near future that will involve being around groups of people. My staff is aware of my vacation plans. They have some concerns about putting them at risk because I'm going to be around people. They suggested that I self quarantine for 2 weeks when I get back. Should I cancel my trip to put them at ease, or is there another solution? Well, I don't think you need to cancel your trip. I mean, if you think about how many other people are moving around the world, um, chances are you're probably being exposed, maybe not as much, but um, at a fairly high rate if you've been out in public. Uh, so, I mean, and I guess I'll just say one thing that I really think, and then that's all I'm going to say. This stuff isn't going away. So that's that. So I think the best thing to do is to kind of balance that expectation is really talk to your employees about um, what they think, what they're worried about, and how can you sort of allay those fears. If you can afford to do a 2 week quarantine when you get back, if you can work remotely for the most part, I would say it doesn't hurt anything. Why not do it? Um, if you can't, if your work doesn't provide you that opportunity, you need to be physically present to do the work. Then, if you can keep yourself working by yourself, away from other people, even if you go in the office. I mean, there are ways to do it. And one thing to sort of, as the article noted, kind of review your current situation and make sure that you're being logical and not emotional about it. There are people all over the world that are still working every day, and that people are going on holiday and they're coming back from holiday and they have never stopped working because they're in an essential business. So you're not the first person to have to tackle this, and neither your employees. That doesn't mean that you're not special, but it does mean that there's probably a lot of other solutions and kind of chit chat out there on the interwebs. So you might just look up a few conversations, and there's probably some great articles out there about that too. But I would say, if you can quarantine, do it. If you can't quarantine, then maybe some sort of hybrid solution is fine. If you ignore it, that would be a problem. So I wouldn't just ignore it. I'm on the hunt for a professional development coach or mentor. I'm overwhelmed by the number of options I found on Facebook and LinkedIn. How do I narrow them down to get the right one? Is it rude to ask for references? Absolutely not rude to ask for references. And actually, I would say you would be remiss not to. Because different people get on good with different people. I mean, I have coaching clients that wouldn't really like Rachel's style of coaching, and she has coaching clients that I would not work for them. And we're very diligent about trying to give people an option, to talk to us a little bit, and say, here's kind of what you'll get if you talk to me, here's kind of what you'll get if you talk to Rachel. So I would say not only should you ask for references, you should interview them and say, I'd really like to make sure that this is where I want to invest my money. It has something to do with their credibility, but it probably that request has more to do with your comfortability. So what kind of a coach are you looking for? Because there are lots of them out there, and they all do something slightly different or in a little bit different way. I'm more of a let's rip that Band-Aid off and get moving. Some people don't need help like that. Some people need a phone call in the morning with a friendly, they need Shelly. Like a phone call in the morning with a friendly voice and how are you doing? And that is not what you're going to get with me. And I would use different tools than Shelly would to help people, and different even yet than Rachel. And that's just in our business. And so I think it's absolutely imperative that you ask for references, ask if you can interview them, or if that feels weird to you, you can just say, I'd really like an opportunity to chat with you. Most coaches do an hour of free coaching or engagement, whatever they want to call it, so that you can get to know them and ask them any questions you want. I think the other thing that's really important is to be really real with yourself about what you're looking for. If you're a woman and you really don't take advice well from men because, that's just not a thing for you, you better be pretty honest with yourself about that, because if you drop 10 grand on some guy and you feel like he's mansplaining to you all the time, it's not going to be a fun engagement for anybody. On the flip side of the coin, maybe you don't want to take advice from other women, or maybe you're a man and you don't want to take advice from a woman or another man. Whatever it is, be real with yourself about what you're hoping to gain and where and how you like to take feedback. And I think it's also very important to know what your plan is. So a lot of times when we say, oh, I want professional development because I want to grow, well, what does that mean exactly? Do you want to learn how to better manage your time because you're interested in having more community engagements? Or you maybe overrun with volunteer opportunities and you want to be able to tell some of those people no, but you don't know how to because it makes you feel bad and it's actually kind of eating away at your performance in your job or maybe your own professional development. So those are all really important things to think about. What is your goal? What does success look like for you in the engagement? How do you want to take feedback and from whom will you take it best from? And then really understanding and getting a feel for the person is important. Okay, next question. Oh, how long have we been on here? I can't see that with this pulled up.
We have 15 minutes left.
Okay. Next question. My partner and I have been in business together for 4 years. Our bottom line has been hit hard in recent months. We have always gotten along great, but lately they seem really disengaged from our business. How do I get us back on the right track? Share a fun little secret with you. This happened to Rachel and I. And we both felt very disengaged. So I can tell you right now that if you think your business partner is disengaged, probably they're thinking the same thing of you. What we did was sat down and had a very real conversation with each other about what are we doing here, and look back through our core values and said, are we really hitting the mark on our core values? And then once we could answer that pretty successfully as a yes, we said, okay, from a financial perspective, what makes the best sense? Do we focus on our coaching clients as our primary business line? Do we go build Helix and make some fancy platform? Do we do a round of funding and get some investment dollars? Do we continue to focus on big organizational clients? So we had a strategy meeting with ourselves about where we were going with the business and what we thought was the best way to get there. I think the most critical part of the conversation was that we talked about the things that we both love about being entrepreneurs and business owners and had a conversation around, are we actually still doing the pieces that we love? Rachel loves big, juicy problems and talking to potential investors about stuff that I might think is ridiculous and doesn't even matter. I mean, I know that it does matter, but I'm like, what are you doing, chaos tolerance? Like, we're so not there right now. But we had a year where we were really tied to the operational aspects of our business intentionally, and it kind of dampened Rachel's spirits because she's a very strategic, visionary thinker. So we had a great conversation about, hey, what are we missing out on? And Rachel's like, I just feel like I don't have any big challenges coming up. Like, there's just nothing exciting. So I said, well, go see if we can get some investment dollars. Let's make that one of our priorities, or see if we can find someone or a way that a consultant that will help us build out this online platform. And so that sparked so much joy in her life. She instantly flipped a coin, and that made me feel better. And I think when we talked about what I was missing out on, it just felt like we were doing a ton of constant collaborating and networking and all this stuff, and that is overwhelming to me. Not my favorite thing. I said, I need some time to just sit down and think and chew on numbers and do some of my own stuff. So that's when we kind of reworked our schedule for our office, what days we're going to be in the office together so we can talk about whatever we need to, and days that we're going to be working on our own from our own respective home offices. So Um, really, at the end of the day or at the beginning of this conversation that you're going to have, I would just, don't make it about what's wrong with you. Say, hey, something is goofy in our relationship. I'm sure it's because, finances aren't great and it just really seems like we're plugging along. Why did you start this business with me? What things are so interesting to you? And then talk about how they're missing and see how you can build them back in. Okay, it's time for some good news. Hang on, I gotta get the sign. The sign looks like it's had hail damage. Ooh, some good news! Yay! It makes me kind of sad that What's His Bucket isn't still doing that. He's not, right? Because he sold it.
Periodically they'll post some stuff, but not like a week.
It makes me sad. I could have been like the new Saturday Night Live, I feel like.
I enjoy SGN more.
I know. It looks like I'm talking to an imaginary friend, but Shelly really is over there, you guys. Okay, so here's a cool story that Shelly found, some actual good news that was in the news, and Shelly found it. Yay! A big brother in Cheyenne, Wyoming, saved his sister's life. He was 6 years old. She was younger, we'll assume, because he's a big brother. And the neighbor's German Shepherd attacked them. And he took the brunt of it. He stood in front of his sister because he told the news media or whomever afterwards that he figured it would probably, if anybody was going to die, it should probably be him, which seems like a very sage statement coming from a 6-year-old. And so he has like 90 stitches and his face is all pretty well mangled up, but luckily his family has good insurance, and I'm sure that the neighbors have homeowners insurance and blah blah. So somebody started a GoFundMe page. This is like full of good news items. They didn't need the money, so they took the money and donated all to charity. And they said to people instead that this young man really enjoys collecting rocks. And so they said, if you are interested in supporting us, you could please send him rocks. And so he's gotten rocks from all over the place and also got a shield from Captain America. I mean, what in the actual? Who gets a shield from Captain America? This kid. Good for you. So anyway, that's some cool news. Shelly can post that that's on CBS News. She can post that link in the, what is that called? Chat, whatever. Rachel is on vacation this week. That is... Oh, Rachel is doing a really bad job of being on vacation, because certainly listening to me drone on about things does not a good vacation make. So, hi, Rach. So Rachel's on vacation. She and her family are hiking on the Centennial Trail, which is a trail system here in the Black Hills. It's about 120-ish miles long. The weather was going to foil their plans, but they are forging through and hanging in there. We don't know exactly what that means because we haven't spoken to her, because we follow the rules of vacations, Rachel. But I bet they're having a blast. I did see a post where they had to make their own spoons because they remembered to pack everything but not spoons. So they whittled spoons out of sticks. It's fascinating. It's just all we can say is thank goodness for Cappy. Not that Rachel and Alex couldn't do that themselves, but Cappy is the ultimate woodsman. Shelly got a new office chair. Rachel and I have been trying. This is a permission Band-Aid that we've been trying to rip off. Like, it's still... I think we're taking the sticky stuff off of her skin about this, seriously, because she would not get a new chair for the longest time. And finally, her neck hurt and all the things, and she went to Dr. Sam Figgins, who fixed her up real proper and talked her into getting a new chair. So that's exciting. That's going to be here in the next couple of days. And let's see, our new office building is still on track as far as we know. COVID has really tried hard to mess with our success in that, but we're just determined not to let that happen. So we're very excited to have our new office building where we will have our own offices with doors, which self-driven human on the team, very excited about that. And it's not going to be very far from my home, so I could walk or run or ride my bike down there. All good news. Any other good news we can think of?
You're going to have a rhubarb bar when you get
Ooh, Shelly made homemade rhubarb bars, and I'm going to have one as soon as we're done here. And even if it makes me sick, I'm going to be happy about it. Only make me sick because we went to Antonia's for lunch, remember? And I am full. Okay, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for giving us these questions in the IX member group. If you ever have a question that you would love for us to answer anonymously for you, just send it to Shelly or PM the group or however all the social media crap works. Just get it to Shelly somehow, and then she'll make sure that it's in our information, our newsreel, so that we can address it. Huh?
And it's anonymous.
Yes, I said that. It's anonymous. Okay, I see that there's a new comment. God, I hate social media so much. I mean, I love talking to you people and that this is the way that it happens, but I can't see what you said, Rachel, because social media. Oh, there it is. I look so pretty. You're so cute. I miss you. Okay. Bye, guys. Have a great rest of your week. Lead powerfully. Change the world. Bye for now. Okay, come look at this. We have to make sure this saves, so I'm having Shelly come over here to look at this. I don't know if it matters.